Are we live? All right, we're live. Yes, hello. Hi. It has been a long time. All right, we're live. So we're back though.
Yes, hello.
Oh God. No,
Hi.
please stop.
Don't do
It's
that
been
to
a
me.
Okay. All right. There we go. I am now no longer echoing myself. Okay. So yes, hello. What is good, y'all? We are finally back. My internet is fixed. I can do things. And it's Monday, so we're gonna continue Magic Monday, even though we missed the last few. And there was bannings in Modern today, so that's the plan. That's the deal. That's what we're doing. Is that there was bans in Modern, so we're just brewing some Modern. Real simple. Because I'm gonna update. So this here is a blue-red Taking Turns deck that I made back in 2018. That was low-key one of the best decks at the time, but nobody knew that because I kept the list to myself. But every time I ever tested it, it actually almost never lost. And so I was like, well, it's been like, 5 years, so I was going to go back and I was going to basically update it, and we're going to see what all's changed. I know immediately, number one, Preordain over Serum Visions. That's pretty easy, right? So, do that. So the way that this deck actually works, I suppose I can talk about that, is it's all about stacking multiples of extra turns, using things like Increasing Vengeance to copy them. So, because Increasing Vengeance copies, I get 2 extra turns in the tank. That's pretty good for 2 mana. But if I cast it from my graveyard, then I copy twice. So that's 3 extra turns if I use it from the graveyard, which I can also cheat on mana with that a bit by using something like Snapcaster Mage. Because it just cares about being cast from the graveyard. It doesn't care about if you use its own ability or cast itself. So that's all good. And on top of that, speaking of cheating mana, we're running As Foretold. Because what is something that scales incredibly well with taking extra turns? Something that happens every upkeep. So this deck does a lot of nothing until turn maybe 4 or 5, and then it just wins the game. Where it'll just be like, okay, and then I just start chaining extra turns together until I find a win con. If I ever get 6 turns in the tank, Jace the Mind Sculptor just wins because you just up him 5 times, tick down, and then that's an ult. Snapcaster Beatdown is surprisingly good when your opponent doesn't get to have any turns. He'll just kill them. Chandra the Firebrand, she's mostly here to get extra copies on extra turn spells every few turns, because she has a -2 that does that. But she also technically is a win con, because if I have a bunch of turns stacked up, she just pluses and then starts shooting people to death. On top of just a surprisingly strong win con is actually just bolt, snap, bolt, copy bolt twice, and I just fucking kill them. So this deck actually, all of the pieces that are good in the deck just kind of turn into a win con. I'm going to run bolt to stay alive anyway. Right, and then I'm going to be running Jace the Mind Sculptor so I can brainstorm and stack Temporal Mastery on the top so I can cheat mana by using the Miracle super early. And so these cards I was already running, and again I'm already running Snap. That's so easy. And then yeah, so that's what it is. So there's I think several changes that are going to happen, because a lot of stuff has come out since then. Oh yeah, one of the biggest interactions in this deck that a lot of people I don't think necessarily know, As Foretold, you can cast a 0 mana spell when it doesn't have any counters, because it's 0 rather than the mana cost of a mana value X. So I can play As Foretold and then cast Ancestral Visions for 0, meaning I can subvert the suspend cost and just on turn 3 play As Foretold and draw 3 cards, which is that's great. That we love that. And it's this deck is sort of a well-hummed machine. It is very surprising how innocuous it looks. It's yeah, whatever, okay. And then there's hidden modes of the deck. Like I said, you can turn into suddenly a burn deck where you're bolt snap bolting, you're bolt copy bolt. You're doing all this. You can also turn into a control deck sometimes. where you're like running your cryptics, you're copying your cryptic commands, you're snapping your cryptics, you're jacing, and then like you take extra turns every so often to like stay alive. It is a very surprisingly resilient deck. That just has a bunch of things that need to be updated. You may notice here is Living End. This is literally only used as a board wipe. Because like I said, you can cast 0 mana things off of As Foretold. And so, you can play As Foretold on 3 and then wipe the board on 3. Make your opponent sack their entire board. And notably, we're running Teleria Wests, which are extra copies of both Living End and Ancestral Visions. Or a land if you really need one of the specific lands, but the only land that we're really like one specific of is like Mikakoro. Mikakoro is just there to spend extra mana to like not peter out if you somehow get stuck. Because it's possible for you to just not have to spend your actual mana on anything once you have like a couple As Foretolds. And because once an As Foretold's at 3, it plays another As Foretold for free, so it just kind of like scales and starts cascading. Sunbird's Invocation is something you land once you're rolling. And if you land this, I don't think it's possible for you to fizzle out on the taking infinite turns. Because, so, if I Sunbird's Invocation, I play Time Warp, I reveal the top 5, I cast anything in the top 5 that's 5 or less. That includes other Time Warps, that includes things like Exhaustion, the copy spells, Cryptic Command, As Foretolds, Snapcasters, which can then grab Increasing Vengeances or Time Warps, and then I can cast Jaces or Chandras. Like, this card means that if I land it, I just don't fizzle, ever. So it's pretty good. Granted, I think that there is a 1-to-1 switch out with Sunbird's Invocation that has come out since this deck. Because this is a 6-mana enchantment that does nothing on the turn you play it. But the turn after you play it, you win the game. But notably, this does have a good interaction with As Foretold because you're casting the card from your hand with As Foretold. So you can spend 6 mana on this and then still cast like a 2 or 3 drop and still get some value out of it. Or, you know, it scales very, very well. Everything in this deck is just a well-tuned engine. This is the old sideboard. It was running things, you know, Lightning Bolt, Giga Drought. Giga Drought was sort of like the poor man's extra turn spell, same with Exhaustion. Because, like, these are extra turn spells if your opponent is on a creature deck, right? If your opponent is trying to kill you with creatures, these cards read, like, 3 mana, take an extra turn, or, like, 5 mana, take an extra turn. Which is, like, great. And then Bonfire of the Damned. Again, I can set up Miracles using Jace. So it's pretty good to have a board wipe. Blood Moon. This deck is not weak to Blood Moon at all. Because I'm running a bunch of red spells. Or, sorry, red lands and then just islands. Not an issue. Abrade. I think there's just better cards nowadays, but... Ceremonious Rejection, if that tells you what things were like back then in 2018, is that this was the answer to Tron. Was, you know, Exhaustions, Rejections, and Giga Drowses. Like, these things answered Tron, which was a big deal back in the day, because that was, I think, one of the only bad matchups this deck had. But yeah, either way, so that's what we're doing. We're going to be updating this, because a lot of really good cards have come out in the last 5 years. The number one thing I will point out, this deck was made right after Jace got unbanned, but before Preordained got unbanned, and it was before Modern Horizons 1. So this is quite out of date for modern standards. So that's what we're going to be updating. This is the remix. So I've got everything set out. So I already just, I mean, Preordained to Serum Visions is a 1-to-1. If I even want to do that. I assume it's still great. But everything else, still up for grabs. Days Undoing is also obsolete now, I've noticed. Thanks to exactly one Modern Horizons. One card, wherever it is. Echo of Aeons. Move to main deck. Yeah, so this card is just Days Undoing that doesn't end the turn. That's it. Like, because 6 mana is something I can afford to pay just fine, especially with the, whatchamacallits, or if I throw it into the graveyard, then hey, Days Undoing is great. Or then it's just the same cost, so it's like not even a bad thing for me. So like, I think that's pretty clean, we just do that. And then Echo of Aeons again, it can enter the graveyard any number of ways. I can change things. I can switch out Mikakoro for a Gaia's Reach or Gaia's Reach Sanitarium or something like that. I can do all kinds of stuff. Because to be fair, that would also make Temporal Trespass a bit better, the Delve extra one. Although, with modern stuff, it might be better to cut the Trespass in favor of another Temporal. Because that was the split. Was you ran 3 Temporal and 1 Trespass because you didn't have too much in the way of changing that. Living End is still pretty good for board wipes, so we'll probably keep that. We're probably going to go up, I think, a few bolts, because interaction is way more important in the current era. But then again, this deck also is totally down for all the shenanigans. So first of all, I can cast any of these spells on turn 3 with Asfortold, because I can slam Asfortold and just run Rhinos. I could just slam Rhinos whenever I want, which is like an option. I can do that. Gaia's Will is effectively Yawgmoth's Will that I can just play whenever I want. Which is also pretty good because, again, Increasing Vengeance copies twice as long as it's from the graveyard. It doesn't care how it's cast from the graveyard. So if I play Gaia's Will on my Asfortold for 0, and I have 7 mana, I just Time Warp, Increasing Vengeance from the graveyard for 7 mana, and then, I mean, that's it. I got 3 extra turns in the tank. Good luck. Inevitable Betrayal, I think, was actually better before Fury was just banned this morning. Because if I go on turn 3, play Asfortold, and then Inevitable Betrayal, I take their Fury, and then I get a 3/3 double strike, and I shoot their stuff, which keeps me alive very well. Like, this deck actually would have loved to have Fury in it. And, you know, likewise, Inevitable Betrayal would have been great as well. Profane Tutor is something I can literally just have a Demonic Tutor in the deck, which is pretty good. That's something that, again, didn't exist before recently. I can also run effectively a Soul Ring. So then I play Asfortold, I play Soul Talisman, then I untap with 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So I just skip a whole bunch, and then I've got an Asfortold as well still on 1. This is the big thing. This deck is going to want to play Ragavan, I think. This morning? Damn, yeah. Yep, ban list was this morning. Part of the reason why I was like, oh, let's brew it today is I was like, well, new ban list, everything's fresh, let's get a feel for it. I don't really know the rest of the meta yet, but I have a good idea of just, again, this deck needs so many modernizations that I don't think it matters. Because Ragavan in this deck is like Ragavan 1, attack, and then turn 2 I'm playing like Asfortold, or like some nonsense, like, or I'm playing Jace on 3, Cryptic Command on 3, like I can Exhaustion on 2 for like basically skip a turn, like I can, like the ramp, he cares more about the fact that Ragavan makes a treasure than the fact that Ragavan steals cards or is aggressive. That's what I care about more. He's the best mana dork ever printed, so why not use him? Seal of Removal is really good. It's probably the best version of like an unsummon while you have Asfortold in your deck, partly just because you can just cast it for free while it's on 1, and then it just sits there forever and you don't have to waste your Asfortold, but you can also Asfortold on your opponent's turn, so having them just be instant speed is also fine, so it doesn't really matter. Unholy Heat didn't exist when this deck came out, but I think you probably still want to run Bolt. Because, like I said, one of the ultimate win cons is just bolting your opponent's face and copying it a million times. So I think Ragavan wants to come in for sure. I'm still not entirely sold on which of the free spells we want. Profane Tutor's not a bad call. But we'll see. I mean, Inevitable Betrayal, depending on what the best deck is after this, like after the format bans and shift, Inevitable Betrayal might come in. We'll see, because to be fair, I can still take, like, was it Solitudes? What else is... I don't even know what's big. I can take Solitude, I can take Omnath, I can take all kinds of stuff. And if I'm, like, you know, extra turnsing with my opponent's Omnath or something, like, still really good. And then Gaia's Will, like I said, it's Yawgmoth's Will, which is... That card's broken. I mean, that shit's, like, I think banned in Legacy, so that gives you an idea. Then I was looking at a couple other cards that came out since this deck. First of all, we have Counterspell in Modern now. That's big, because this is kind of just like a blue-red control shell. So it's like there's a world where we just kind of lean harder into the control aspects, and then extra turns is just like our combo win con. But we have things. There are some creatures that are very, I feel, relevant, in such as Dreadhorde Arcanist, because he also circumvents the having to spend mana, so he can recast all of my 0 mana spells from the graveyard, which is like great. He can also recast, you know, my Preordains or my Bolts, which is great. A new one in the most recent set, Malcolm, he gets way better the more turns you have. Because, well, A, he's a win con, and he loots, so he helps me, you know, find better cards. And eventually he just starts casting my cards for free. For 2 mana with Flash. So it's like, actually, Malcolm might have a home here. And then this is the one that I saw that I was like, wait, this exists. Which is Mercurial Spelldancer. So it's a 2 mana 2/1 that can't be blocked, so also a win con, again. This way I don't have to, like, tap their stuff down to kill them with Snapcaster, but that's not usually too big of an issue anyway. But the big thing on this is that not only is it like a win con, it's also a cog piece, which, like I said, all the win cons in this deck are supposed to be parts of the engine. Damage to a player. Oh. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a... Jesus Christ. Okay, OBS, shut up. I don't need notifications from you. Thank you. Okay. So whenever you cast a spell, it gets counters. And then when it deals damage to somebody, which it's unblockable, it's just going to happen, you can remove 2 counters and copy your next spell. Which means that I can copy my next extra turn spell. So like I drop this on, I don't know, like on 2 or 3 or something. And if I don't need to chump with it, you know, I've cast, you know, As Foretold on 3 or something right after it, and then now it's got counters. And then I swing, boom, Time Warp, now I've got 2 turns in the tank, and then it's going to build back up and copy my next one too. So it's like, this card, I feel is going to be really, really good. Mission Briefing are just extra copies of Snapcaster. That's literally all they are, is they're just copies of Snapcaster that don't come with a body. But that is a significant downside because Snapcaster chump blocking is how I stay alive long enough to take all my turns to win the game. So that matters. Dress Down didn't exist when this card came out, but Dress Down is great, probably going to be in the sideboard. Expressive Iteration is an idea to just dig deeper. Because again, I'm not doing very much on the first few turns, which is probably a death sentence in the current Modern. But that's an option. I can start doing that to dig better. Finale of Promise. This is sort of like Super Snapcaster. I just dump, like, I think, what is that, 12 mana into it? And then I just cast one of my extra turn spells from the graveyard twice. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but I think it's just too expensive. I have way better ways to do that. Galvanic Iteration, this is a instant or sorcery copy spell that didn't exist when I made this deck. Same cost on the front side as Increasing. Lower cost on the back side, but it doesn't copy twice, so, you know, win and loss. It's I think a similar power level to the Increasing Vengeance, but I would prefer Vengeance over this. Pyromancer's Ascension, this was out at the time, but I never really considered it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that has the same name, put a quest counter on it, and then if it has 2 or more quest counters, you may copy that spell, choose new targets for the copy. I feel like this is just too slow. Like, we're already trying to, like, waste our time on things like As Foretold and, like, all this other stuff. We don't have time to waste on this extra time waster because we're also running things like Delve and Snapcaster that remove things from our graveyard anyway. So that makes this actually very difficult to trigger. Let's see, your new one, Twinferno. You can cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy it, or give target creature you control double strike. Oh, okay. Well, this is actually kind of a pretty good upgrade if we start running Ragavans. Right? Because on the front side, it's still the same copy spell my deck wants to run anyway. And if I'm giving something double strike, giving it to, like, Snapcaster is not that big of a deal, but if I'm running Ragavan, like Ragavan 1, double strike Ragavan on 2, that's 2 extra treasures, and I, you know, take 2 of their cards, that's kind of a messed up. And then obviously it works similarly to Increasing Vengeance in that it copies my extra turn spells. That's an interesting one. I'm not sure if it would be better. Underworld Breach, of course, this is just kind of like Gaia's Will. Just recasting all my extra turn stuff from the graveyard. Again, Increasing Vengeance doesn't care how it's cast from the graveyard, so it'll work, but this one has a little bit of an issue in that this deck doesn't actually fill up the grave that fast. Like, there's a world where I start running like things like Thought Scours or something instead of Preordain, but as long as I'm running, was it Temporal Mastery? Preordain is better. And I don't see that changing, so it's like, it's very costly to do Breach, because exiling 3 other cards every time I try to do that, pretty rough. This one's technically off color, but the emblem is actually interesting, because Because again, when you're taking a billion extra turns, it's really easy to ultimate planeswalkers. So this means that I hit my land drop every turn. It can ping things if they're problematic until I get my turns going, and then it rolls, and then I get all my instants and sorceries have retrace. Which means that I can just take infinite turns as long as I have lands or spells. So it's an interesting choice, but there's not really much reason to splash green in this deck, so it's probably not going to happen. So we'll see. Oh, let me make sure phone doesn't die from charging. Okay. So those are like the 2-drops. There's a lot of new 3-drops. Technically Mana War just already existed. I don't actually need it. I just thought it was cute. Save of the Moment existed last time. It was one that I was looking at, a few. But untapping your lands, even though you are using Asphalt to cheat, untapping your lands is kind of important in all these extra turns. So copying Save of the Moment is not very good. But using it to get a farther ahead on lands and draw another card is not a bad thing. So, but it's kind of just like a growth spiral. This one really is just kind of a growth spiral. Which at 3 mana is probably not worth it. New one just came out, Tishana's Tidebinder. This card's pretty good. Like I said, the backup plan of this deck is to just be a control deck. And Tidebinder's pretty good at doing that. Free counterspell, this didn't exist when the deck first came out. Important, but I'm not sure how important until we see the like the next like meta, because I don't know how important non-creature spells are going to be. Because I don't want to exile Time Warps for Force of Negation, right? Because my deck needs like a critical mass of things, but at the same time, I don't usually mind going down on cards because I have 4 cards in my deck that say draw 3 cards. So it's not that big of a deal usually. And I can also copy Ancestral Vision as well if I'm really low on cards. So, I don't know. Force of Negation is probably worth it, but it depends on the meta. Flame of Anor, this card is cool. I didn't know that this card existed, and Snapcaster is obviously a wizard. So if I Snapcaster into this, then I get to draw 2 cards and kill a creature, or store an artifact, whatever. Great card. Drawing more cards is great. Fable the Mirrorbreaker. This card is just good, so I was like, well, let's, see. Because doing this on 3 instead of As Foretold is similar, in that I do put a 2/2 into play that makes treasures, which kind of gives me more mana every turn. Helps me discard dead cards, and then it turns into like this little Kiki-Jiki guy, which gives me extra copies of like Snapcasters. But I don't think this is the deck for it. Display of Power is new. I had no idea this card even existed, because I missed the Lord of the Rings set. But this can copy any number of instant or sorcery spells on the stack, which includes copies. So if I somehow like Time Warp, copy stuff from the graveyard, so I've got like 3 copies of it, I can play this and copy all 3. This just like doubles all the extra turns I'm currently putting on the stack. Or, yeah, so it can go from 1 to 2 for 3 mana, which is not bad, or it can do, 2 to 4, 3 to 6, 4 to 8, and yes, it is possible to get like 4 extra turns at a time in this deck. Like, not that hard. But I'm not sure if it's worth doing that, because there's another copy spell we'll get to in a second. Dismembers depends on how fast the meta is. I don't think that there's anything left that this kills that Bolt doesn't, that like I really care about. I don't give a shit about Rhinos, I'm gonna be honest. Because you know what Rhinos loses to? Living End. So I just, they do their Rhino stuff, and then I just wait till the opportune moment, and then Living End off of As Foretold, and it's over. Discover the Impossible is one that I was looking at that's like interesting, in that like I can just use it to just search for some of my better stuff, but most of the things I want are not necessarily instants, even though this does find me one of my copy spells and casts it for free, so it's an option. Confounding Riddle just came out, and I like it a lot. The flexibility being offered here, because when you're taking extra turns, having a counterspell sucks. That's actually why Cryptic Command is great, because the worst thing it can be is like tap all your opponent's creatures and draw a card, which just reads like, oh, my Snapcaster can start killing you now while I take all my extra turns. So like the extra flexibility is actually super important. Like hard counterspell, like blue is not actually that good in this deck, I don't think. Just because it's a dead draw while you're trying to like loop all your turns. So something like Confounding Riddle is like damn good. It's just not 2 mana. Brazen Borrower is great. Speaking of, you don't need to take as many extra turns if you're running this, and then it just also is good early at keeping you alive through the hard turns. The turns that are going to matter. Archmage's Charm, great card. Same thing I was just saying about Confounding Riddle. Counterspells with flexibility in this deck are key. Like, you don't want to run just like hard counterspell. I don't think this is going to be making it in. I'm going to leave it here just because it's important, but I don't think it makes it. Fire Ice, it's been seeing a lot of play recently, but like it's just a blue-red spell that's good. There you go, it's good. So yeah, you can run it. Karn the Great Creator, it's possible this is a Karn the Great Creator deck. I haven't really looked into it. I just know that he's really good. He grabs stuff from your sideboard. It's possible that there's like a few artifacts that really make this deck hum. And if so, then it might be a Karn the Great Creator deck. I don't know. That'll take some digging. Repeated Reverberation. This is the new copy spell that interests me. Because it's 4 mana, so I don't get to cast it as early off of As Foretold. But it copies the next spell twice, which is great. And if I recall, this stacks. So if I do Repeated Reverberation into Repeated Reverberation, then it copies those. And then because they're not like the next... Yeah, so I make this, I play another one, and then it copies that one twice. And then each of those is going to make it so that my next thing copies twice. So then I cast a Time Warp, and then it copies twice, and then it copies twice. So I get 4 Time Warps, if I can manage to do that somehow. So it's like, it's really, really like... I don't even know what to say. Snowball-y? But it might just be 2 mana intensive, because at the moment, I'm just spending like 5 mana and 2 mana to copy, right? Which is like actually totally reasonable. Or like 5 mana and then 2 counters on As Foretold, which, fun fact, is on curve. If I play As Foretold on 3, and then 4, and then 5, I have 2 counters on As Foretold, so then I can cast Time Warp and copy it with the free spell. Which gives me 2 turns starting turn 5, and then from there I can kind of snowball into just being over. Subtlety is in the same spot as Force of Negation, depending on how the meta shapes out. These could be very important spells. Also, speaking of, extra win con, just like Snapcaster. Again, you want your engine pieces to function as win cons. The One Ring, obviously, insane card. I don't think I could... This kind of fits the same role as Sunbirds, where I think if I play this card, I can't miss a turn anymore, but the difference is this will eventually kill me if all I'm doing is taking extra turns. Because I'm taking a lot more upkeep, so I'm going to burn for this. So that actually might not be the One Ring deck, just because taking extra turns is not how you make the One Ring broken. You make the One Ring broken by gaining life, or like using the protection to basically take an extra turn. That's the other thing that I like about this. If I drop this, it's like a 4 mana take an extra turn because I gain protection from everything. So it's like, this deck probably wants the One Ring, and I'll probably put it in, but I don't know yet. And Lorien Revealed is just, it does what it does, man. Double Vision. So this is an enchantment that says, whenever you catch your first instant or sorcery, copy that spell. You can choose new targets for the copies. That's great. That's what we want. So, just a 5 mana... Again, this is effectively just a strict upgrade on Sunbird's Invocation. They're slightly different, but this is just a 5 mana version of my 6 mana do nothing enchantment. So, just gonna double up on the stuff. Mirror Conjecture is actually a pretty good one. Returns an instant card, which can be my copy spells, and then a sorcery card, which is my extra turn spell, so then I get them both back into my hand. And then the last chapter, until the end of turn, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it, choose new targets. So this gives me one combo piece, the other combo piece, and then it doubles both of the combo pieces. So if I do this on 5, I play land on 6 and then 7, so then, you know, by the time this cracks for its final one, I have my copy spell, my Time Warp, and then, so I Time Warp, it copies it, I got 2 Time Warps, and then I do my copy spell targeting that, and that copies the copy spell. So then I get 4 extra turns off of this one card for no other card advantage value, right? So there's a world where this is also just kind of the better Sunbird's Invocation, but I still don't think it's the best version of like the Sunbird Invocation upgrades. Arcade Bombardment. This could be an Arcade Bombardment. There's so many things. So many things have come out since this deck used to exist that this deck could be any number of variations. And I'm just going to end up picking the ones I like the ones that I think make more sense. Because this 6-mana do-nothing enchantment is almost identical to my current one, Sunbird's Invocation, except this adds RNG instead of allowing me to pick what I want to cast. So, kind of just worse than what I currently have. Walk to Aeons, this is a new-ish... I don't remember if this was in Modern before, but this is a take an extra turn spell that's like pretty good. Problem is I don't like sacrificing islands because I like to accumulate lands. The more I go, the more mana I have, and the better everything is. But there's a world where this is like needed. In like the sacrifice 3 islands might be better, so I can have more mana to do. I've got As Foretold, so it's like I don't know. It's just here to, you know, basically not have to worry about not having included. This is the way better Sunbird's Invocation. Chandra Hope's Beacon. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability only triggers once each turn. So, Sunbird's Invocation mostly just lets me cast a... mostly just allows me to cast a extra turn spell and copy it, effectively. Or, you know, cast another one from my deck, either way. And so what this is going to allow me to do is the same thing, but it also has abilities. Right? Like, Chandra does things. Because she also just increases my amount of mana. Like, she immediately refunds me 2 of the mana I just spent on her. Or she digs me so that I can't whiff on my taking extra turn loops. Or she ETBs and stabilizes the board so I don't die and then start taking extra turns. Because notably, I think the new best deck in the format is probably Rhinos. And notably, she comes down, assuming I can make it to 6, which in this deck is easier than you think because each extra turn is an extra land drop. So your 6 is sometimes, you know, your opponent's 5 or 4, depending on how things work out. And then you land her, you can -4 and shoot 2 Rhinos. And then she'll still copy everything else you do. So I don't know, she's really, really good. Alternatively, you can also land her, tick up Bolt, copy Bolt, so you can kill a Rhino or even a Murktide sometimes. Speaking of, you can also... Murktide's an option for this deck, but it mostly just exists as a win con, and like I said, this deck wins with its cog pieces, so we don't need to add things that don't further that goal. And this deck doesn't exactly fill up the graveyard. But yeah, Chandra Hope's Beacon, I think, is one that like I am super stoked about. And then Commandeer... Again, same boat as Subtlety and Force of Negation. Depending on the meta, this card might be required. I don't know yet. Nexus of Fate. There's a world where I just run this card over the Trespass or the Time Stretch. That's just possible. I don't know about it yet. We'll see. Because, I mean, the 7-mana... spells, I'm trying to decrease the number of the 7-mana ones and just go as like lower and faster. So there's a world where I probably just want Nexus, because I'm not trying to cast these Temporal Trespasses for 7. That just might happen sometimes. Right, and I'm not trying to cast this for that. Time Stretch is probably coming out. I don't think it's necessary. Because like there's like this is like sort of how you close the game, is you just cast Time Stretch, copy it like once, or even once copying Time Stretch is enough. But you'll usually, you know, copy it twice and then it's over. Obviously, new lands that came out, Fiery Islet and Otawara, must-haves, to be honest. Fiery Islet fixes some of the mana issues this deck had, as well as, like, I don't need the Mikakoro anymore, because those lands just draw me extra cards. So it's not necessary for me to just draw cards using the lands and mana. So that's great. One with the multiverse. This is just one that it's sort of like a time stretch replacement, but I don't think that's something we gotta do. We're using As Fortolds to cheat. We don't need to cheat in something that cheats. Again, we're already running cards that cheat. We don't need cards that help us cheat things into play that cheat things. So let's get moving. So I don't think Time Stretch sticks. We can go up to probably... we'll say 3 Fiery Islet for now. Take out an island. So what is this island printing? Yeah, we'll just do Ixalan. I like the Ixalan ones. Ixalan, okay. And then we don't need Field of Ruins or Mikakoro. Yeah, so this is definitely a lot cleaner of a land base. Who'd have thunk they would actually print lands that mattered? Then I don't think Temporal Trespass is probably sticking around. I think that this one copy of Chandra might get replaced with something else. Because she's mostly there, again, she just copies extra times, but like at 4 mana I could also do repeated Reverberation to copy extra times instead. It gives me double. I don't know, there's some arguments here, but I think I want to replace her with something a little bit more interesting. Like I can replace her with one copy of Display of Power. Could be my Twinferno. Well, I think for sure she's coming out. I think there's just better stuff to do now. Exhaustion again is just means it's a 3 mana extra turn spell against creature decks, which is great. It's better than because we have our actual extra turn spells and then we have our pseudo extra turn spells. Exhaustion against a creature deck. Oh, you tapped out. You attacked with your creatures. You don't untap. That's basically an extra turn. Cryptic Command, tap all your things, draw a card. That's basically an extra turn. Like, you know, that's what a lot of this stuff is doing. So Chandra Hope's Beacon, Echo of Eons. I mean, there's also a world where I just don't need Echo of Eons I just don't need the, like, draw 7 anymore. So, like, I'm going to move that back down. We might just not need it. Taking out Sunbird's Invocation. I think I'm just going to straight up take out Temporal Trespass for the additional Temporal Mastery, because Preordain makes them way better than Serum Visions did. Still like 3 Vengeance, 3 Snap. 2 Mind Sculptor, 2 Cryptic, still good. 3 As Foretold, 3 Ancestral, 1 Living End. Talaria Wests are good. If I end up trying to cheat on As Foretold more, I might go up to 4 Talaria Wests. Again, I'm not sure how much of this I want to really force in. I really want to try Inevitable Betrayal, but I just don't know if creature decks are going to matter that much in the next format. Well, again, we have to find out as things settle. But I definitely want Ragavan. So let's see. So if we put in all 4 Ragavans, then we're at 61. Is Ragavan better than Preordain? I mean, he might be. Because, like, early turns, I'm generally just bolting to stay alive, preordaining to try and dig for stuff. I mean, being a combo deck, I think Preordain's probably better to, like, have than not have, but I don't know. Maybe I take out the Exhaustion. I'm gonna move the Exhaustion out. Again, Snapcaster Chumping is great. I don't mind that. Why not? I mean, so that would be a full 60. That doesn't change too much, but is like, this is probably the most like true to the old build we could do, right? Because if we Ragavan on 1 attack, we get a treasure, then we can Ask for Told and then start ticking. Or we can just like, you know, just play stuff early, play extra stuff. Like, that's pretty good. I think this is probably the cleanest, like, most true to the previous build version. But I think there's a world where we go ham on the new stuff. Where we just, like, what is the version of this? New kid on the block. Alright, duplicate. So if we take this, and if we want to go a little bit ham, what do we want to do? Oh, let me... sort by mana value, please. Thank you. So we want to do all the new stuff. What do we want to do? We want to try Mercurial or Malcolm for sure. I think I'd rather try Malcolm first. And if we're also running Malcolm, actually, does he trigger on attack? Or if he deals combat damage? Yeah. Which means that we could be running Twinferno instead of Vengeance. So if we add Twinferno, 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 and phone. Okay. Yeah, so we add all the Twinfernos. Oh, actually, speaking of phone, it looks like it's getting low. Hold on. Try to not let my phone die while we're here doing this. Yes, now everyone shut up. I don't need to know that the phone was just plugged in. I did it. Okay. So this could just be the thing we do. So instead of snaps, we run Malcolms, and instead of increasing vengeances, we run Twinfernos. Ooh. This version is worse with Temporal Mastery. Because I can I can Increasing Vengeance after I cast and reveal Temporal Mastery. Whereas Twinferno has to be before. So that's actually pretty bad. Although granted, if I'm, setting up Temporal Mastery, that's not a real issue. Because then I'll know ahead of time, so it's not like it matters. Yeah, we'll give that a try. And then Increasing Vengeance would be removed. Move it down. Oh, I think I actually removed the Snapcaster. Let me at least keep one in the considering area. So then these guys would sort of take the place of Increasing Vengeance and Snapcaster, while still taking advantage of the the Twinferno giving double strike to Ragavan and Malcolm. In this version, does anything else change? So I can't snap back my Time Warps after I spend them. So maybe this also runs the one version of Gaia's Will? Yeah, so I'm running the one copy of Gaia's Will, one copy of Living End, 4 Ancestrals. And then in exchange, I take out one of the Temporal Masteries. Now, I think that's decreasing the number of extra turn spells too much. Is it? No, yeah, I still need to see them, so I think 8 is still good. Do I take out a copy of Jace or Cryptic? No, I think it. Well, this is a tough one. Well, actually, we're lowering our curve, right? We could go down one land. Oh yeah, we're at 22 lands, and we're running 5 drops, and a 6 drop. Yeah, I think 22 lands is I can't go any lower than that. Malcolm, I'm already running 3 because I can't use him in duplicates. Do I take out an Ancestral Vision? That's an interesting conundrum. I think I might take out a Preordain. There's a world where I take out a Monkey, but I want to try Monkey. So like this is one version that like tries out some of this new stuff, because like Malcolm into Twinferno double striking with him means that he immediately gets. So I loot twice, and then he has 2 chorus counters on turn 3, and then on turn 4. Yeah, and then on turn 4 I can either do another Twinferno, or he just gets his 3rd counter, and then I loot a 3rd time. Well, actually, this version might actually want the Temporal Trespass. Because this version fills up the graveyard a lot better thanks to Malcolm. And it doesn't exile them with Snapcaster. So they kind of just vibe in there. I think there's a world where I only run 3 Ragavan. Because with all my extra turns, extra Ragavans are dead. Because of the legend rule. Since that's actually going to like come up, I want to have slightly less. Although I'm discarding them to Malcolm. So does it matter? This one's also a little bit more creature focused, so Living End might not be as good. It's one of those Broom. I don't think I want to go lower than 2 Jace, 2 Cryptic. I don't know, maybe I run a 3rd Bolt. Stay alive. Better. Oh yeah, the old sideboard. Whatever. I mean, this looks fine. Again, Cryptic is sort of an extra turn. Jace helps me set up extra turns with that, as well as win me the game if I've got a bunch of them stocked up. Oh, it's so hard because, like, this deck kind of just needs you to do some gold fishing. So let's come down here, play test. Alrighty, so we will restart so we get a fresh hand. What we got? We got... Let's see. Oh, it's getting cut off here, actually. Alright, so we've got Talaria West there. I can increase the size of this so it's easier to see. No, not settings. Where's the zoom? There it is. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's better. So we can actually see the cards now. So this is not great. So I think because again, this deck actually mulligans fairly fine. It's pretty aggressively that it does that. So we hit restart. I don't think this has a mulligan feature. Yeah, so we're just gonna hit restart. This is pretty keepable. We would probably just put Gaia's Will on the bottom. Move to bottom of library. Like, that's totally fine, right? Because we would Tarn... how do I search with this? Oh, view all. Library is open. Yes, it is. We need our red, blue, and steam vents. Move to battlefield. Shuffle. So, like, we steam vent, and then we can drop a Ragavan. Right, and then we draw. Got another land, lucky us. We can attack with Ragavan, but we can... I don't know, we'll just say they killed it or something. Pretty... Again, it gets to the point where it's like, now that we're running some interaction, this version might require some stuff, but it's fairly easy to say people kill Ragavan on sight. So Ragavan dies. And then we can actually pass the turn and keep up both Bolt and Malcolm. So, like, that's totally fine. So we pass, they do something, and then we flash in Malcolm. Then we draw. We drew another Malcolm. But then we can attack with flying, and then we draw, and we can discard. Depending on what deck they're playing, Living In is worth keeping. We don't need the extra Malcolm, though. So we got 2 mana this turn. We can suspend an Ancestral Vision, and then we can bolt something. Right, and then... So this has 3 on it. We draw. Play our 3rd land, finally. Well, we can wait on that. We'll Malcolm, draw. I don't think we are that desperate for other colors of mana, so we can just play that, discard that. So he's got 2, 3 on that. I mean, this is not great here. We're still missing some stuff. But we go, this has 2, he's still got that. Oh, we just drew Temporal Mastery, so we got there. We attack. This is going to be his 4th counter, I believe. So we draw, we discard Jace, we play Jace. Play the Chivalry for next turn. I think we Ancestral. But we actually probably just Brainstorm with Jace now. Oh, perfect. And then put on top, and then we put Temporal Mastery back on top. We just played Reef. So then we're good. We go to our next turn. We draw 3 from Ancestral, one of the very first of which was, of course, Temporal Mastery, so we can cast that. And then we draw for turn, Preordain, which is also really useful at digging ourselves out of the Brainstorm with Jace, so first we just Brainstorm. Still no As for Tolds, which is unfortunate. But I think it's pretty easy to just put back Jace and the Shivan Reef. Then we don't even need to dig ourselves out using Preordain. We can just Scalding Tarn. Look. And at this point, we can grab, like, Mountain. Close and shuffle. And, you know, Malcolm's still casting stuff for free. He can actually cast ourselves a guy as well. Like, this... Granted, that's a lot of, like, what-ifs, depending on whatever the hell is happening. So it's like goldfishing this in a vacuum is kind of whatever, but we've not seen any of our extra turn spells or As for Tolds, so... We might have a density issue. We'll see. So let's try again. Because these kinds of decks really need to be goldfished. So this hand kind of blows. But, like, I've seen worse. Yeah, we'll keep it. So Steam Vents tapped. Draw. Island, go. And then, end of turn, we flash in Malcolm, go for our turn. We attack, we draw, we discard, I think the Temporal Mastery. Well, we have an extra Time Warp. If we draw Jace, Temporal Mastery is really good. Yeah, so we'll discard Time Warp. We could suspend Ancestral Vision, but we're not going to do that, because as soon as we As for Told, which actually is like, that's going to be this turn. Actually, wait, what? Yeah, because that was just the Malcolm to draw and see what happens. So we play Tarn. We search our deck. We probably just grab another Steam Vents. Oh, I think I forgot to shuffle. Shuffle. Then we play As for Told. And then off of that, we just cast Ancestral Vision for 0, and then we draw, draw, draw. Cool, we got Talaria West, which means we also have our board wipe, if necessary. Malcolm has a counter. And then we pass, we come back to us, we draw Time Warp. So we can play our 4th land. Well, we'll wait, we'll attack with Malcolm. Add a counter, draw. Discarding. Oh, this also has a counter. So next turn, we play, so we play a land this turn. Next turn, we actually free cast Twin Inferno off of As for Told and then Time Warp to put two in the tank. Which means that this turn, we could just play the As for Told and hang out. Temporal Mastery's not great here, but we also don't need all these lands right now, so I think I'll just discard the Mountain. Then we'll play Otawara and As for Told. Yeah. Yeah, and then we're chilling. And then so, like, we go to next turn, which has extra counter on this and this, and then we can now play an island. Also, I played that in the wrong order, by the way. I got saved by not discarding. I forgot Talaria West enters tapped. So then we're good there. We can attack to draw. Ancestral. We'll discard Temporal Mastery now. Will we? Well, yeah, we got 2 Time Warps. We got Twin Inferno. I think it's time we can afford to do that, but I don't think we want to. We're actually going to discard the Talaria West now. Alright, and then he gets a counter. So he's about to start casting stuff for free. And then we just cast Twinferno for free off of our As Foretold. And then we cast Time Warp. And then now we got 2 turns in the tank. And it's still their turn 4. So... Oh, and then I can actually just cast Ancestral Vision. I have an extra As Foretold. So I just draw 3. Then now it's the next turn. We get another counter on these As Fortolds. Still have 1 extra turn in the tank, by the way. We're just going to add a City's Blessing token and put counters on it for extra turns. So we got 1 more extra turn in the tank. We just drew Cryptics, which is also great. But we swing in with Malcolm, we draw, we discard Temporal Mastery. It gives us, and then we cast it with Malcolm's ability. And we get another turn in the tank. Without spending any mana, which is great. As Foretold, cast As Foretold. New As Foretold, cast Ancestral Visions. Then we draw. We just drew our Chandra, and we haven't spent any mana yet, so we cast Chandra. And then on top of that, so we've attacked them 4 times now, that's 8, and then we can just bolt their face. Yeah, we can just bolt their face twice. And then we still have extra turns, so we can remove a counter by passing to ourselves. And then these all go up a counter. And then I think we've established the loop. Right, so we'll have added counters to that. Oh, they already have loyalty counters. Add loyalty. Okay. So then we drew a Twinferno, which is great. So that means that we can play an island, cast Twinferno, she copies Twinferno. So our next spell is copied twice. And then we cast, granted, Twinferno off of As Foretold. Then we can cast Time Warp for mana. And then that's copied twice, and we get 3 more turns in the tank. And then, yeah, we can't miss from here. We can't miss from here, and then we kill them. Okay, yeah, that's great. Perfect. So it does still function. And so the opponent died on their turn 4. So that's not bad. So trying again, what do we got? Oh, this is going to be an interesting test. So the Twinferno Ragavan. It's pretty good. Not amazing on lands, though. We might actually not be able to do Twinferno Ragavan. That sucks. Well, either way. So that's a Reef, Ragavan. Draw. Didn't draw the land, so then this is tapped. Then you attack, you get a treasure, and then we can flash in Malcolm. We go to the next turn. Then we did draw the land, so we got 3. Which means that we can actually drop Jace this turn, theoretically. So we attack with both. If we theoretically... we could Twinferno... It's probably better to Twinferno Malcolm, actually. So Malcolm double strikes, so we loot twice. So we draw and discard Gaia's Will. Then we draw and discard, I think, Temporal Trespass. Then we get 1 treasure. Actually, yeah, our graveyard is nowhere close to full, so we discard the Trespass. Malcolm's got 2 counters, so he's going to start popping off shortly. And then we, you know, I think that's technically wrong, because I think because I have the Temporal Mastery in my hand, I think it is actually better to just not Twinferno and let Ragavan just make me 1 treasure, do that, spend 4 Jace, Brainstorm, put Mastery on top. Then I untap, cast Twinferno on my upkeep, draw for turn Temporal, and then cast it. Because that's... oh, I wouldn't have the 4th land. Because that was a Ragavan treasure. So no, that play wouldn't have worked anyway. Okay. Okay, this is still fine. Interesting. And then so, like... You know, I would do this. I could just cast Jace and attack with these. I think this is one that like I would need to know what the opponent does, but I think it's totally reasonable to have won if they were not able to really interact very well. Okay. This one has Mountain, Talaria West, Ragavan to Inferno. I think that's keepable. So like I Mountain Ragavan. Okay, then it's my next turn. This is the one that sucks, is drawing Temporal Mastery on your first or second turn, where you have no possibility of using it. Yep, so we're going to play Talaria West tapped, attack with Ragavan, make a treasure. Not going to be doing anything with it. So then we go to our next turn. Tarn. So we have 4 mana in theory. Technically 5 if we attack with Ragavan here. It's not bad. So if we, you know, go grab Steam Vents. Then we got that. We can attack with Ragavan. If we spend 2 to Twinferno, double strike. We get 2 treasures. We can spend 2 treasures in this for As Foretold. So we're just losing Twinferno in that regard, so it's not actually worth it. If we're not planning to cast anything we get off of Ragavan. So I think we just cast As Foretold and bank the treasure. Yeah. Then we go to our next turn, draw a land, pretty good. So draw this, and now we have mana. As Foretold at 1. So attack with Ragavan. If he makes us a 3rd treasure, which if he... To be fair, the opponent was losing this game if they didn't interact with Ragavan for 3 turns. But that's 7, which allows us to Twinferno, Time Warp, and then that's over. Because then our As Foretold start ticking up. We can cast Temporal Mastery, hard cast. Ragavan is still killing them. Yeah, we're going to draw Malcolm. We were going to get another free turn at some point anyway, just by drawing it. Yeah, that was reasonable, I think. I don't think the Malcolm is selling me. Malcolm seems good, but I don't think I'm sold. So let's... Yeah, we can leave the playtest. So I don't think Malcolm is selling me. So I don't think Malcolm. And if we're not running Malcolm, we're also not running Twinferno over Increasing Vengeance. So I think that means... What? So we could try Dreadhorde Arcanist. Or just bring back in Snapcaster. Although Increasing Vengeance is definitely coming back in anyway. Moving main deck. We could also try Mercurial Spelldancer, but I think that has a similar issue to the one I was having with Malcolm, in that it just sits there and just does stuff without actually really doing anything. Snap, again, I'm happy to chump with him. He gives me an extra Bolt or an extra Preordain if necessary. I mean, so what all does Arcanist pay for? So without any buffs, which I'm not running, so you can recast Preordain, Bolt, Living End, Gaia's Will, or Ancestral Vision. I mean, that's pretty good. Oh, Gaia's Will I don't think even goes to the graveyard unless I discard it, so I don't think that's an issue. If Malcolm's out, we're no longer doing the Temporal Trespass, we're back on the Mastery. So we're back up to 3 Increasing Vengeance. Then I think Arcanist is good if I start running like a Fading Hope or something, or an Unholy Heat or whatever. I think Arcanist gets a lot better if I do that. But it might be good. Let me try Spelldancer. Got room for 3 of them. Again, still max that, max that, max that. 2 Jace, 2 Cryptics, still probably worth just that. Ragavan still seems pretty good. But the problem is, I think that like this might just have to be Snap if we're running Ragavan. Because I think that like our flexibility on like running something that'll just kill our opponent and or do something else, I think just is eaten up by Ragavan here. Right, because he still functions as our game plan, because again, he ramps us out to our big stuff, our extra turns. Then he can also steal things, and he's just a problem. He'll also eat up a lot of like removal and like interaction from the opponent. So I think this might be taking up too much. Like I think there might only be room for 3, in which case this is just Snapcaster, and then it's between like Ragavan and Mercurial Dancer, not Snapcaster and Mercurial. So that might be the problem. We'll see. Playtest, please. Okay, let's do some more goldfishing. So let's restart. Make sure we got a fresh deck. This hand is not keepable. Okay, so we're mulliganing. If I see this, I am mulliganing Chandra to the bottom. Sorry, Chief. Alright, yeah, that's fine. And then I can play Mountain, I can bolt their thing. Next turn, play an Island and Mercurial. Next turn, miss a land drop, so we preordain. Gives her a counter. Okay, so we're going to scry 2. They're both Ancestral Vision. I mean, I think we just need a land, so these are both going to the bottom. Then we draw for turn, or sorry, draw for preordain. Draw Cryptic. So we still got Bolt. We don't get to drop our As Foretold this turn, unfortunately, because we're going to miss that. But we can Bolt their thing, stay alive. That gives her her second counter. Next turn, Steam Vents, As Foretold, attack. Technically, we've attacked with her twice now. She can still block, it looks like. Yeah, she can chomp. She just can't be blocked. So, choosing not to sack her counters. Notably, she also got a third. So we draw. This gets a counter. Notably, we are stalling super hard here, unfortunately. I think we might have to chump with this. Because we did 2 bolts and preordain. This is one of those instances where it's like, if this was Snapcaster, we just stayed alive so much more by snapping Bolt, or we dug so much farther by snapping Preordain. Like, there's like a world where Snap is just right there. Then we can be greedy. We'll probably go down to very low at this point in the game. But we got there. Because now this is on 2. We do this. Because what we can do is attack, and then we just Cryptic to basically tap all their stuff, draw a card. Then we go to our turn. This gets a third counter. Unfortunately, we drew a tap land, so we play Talaria West. Tapped. We're so close. We're so close. So we definitely have to chump with it. I don't think we can afford to just assume that it would not have died. But this is on 4. We Time Warp, we Increasing Vengeance. You know, this one for free off of As Foretold. And then we have 2 extra turns in the tank. Go to our next turn. We get this. We still got 1 more in the tank. Sorry, this one up to 5. Which means that we play Time Warp and then cast this from our graveyard. We pay 1 life to suspend Ancestral. No, we don't need to suspend Ancestral. We're just going to cast Ancestral next turn. So Vengeance is now gone. And then we have 3 turns in the tank. We go to 1 of them, 2 left in the tank. This goes up. We cast Ancestral. Off of As Foretold, we draw 3. Play Fiery Islet. We crack 1. Draw another card. I think we drop in As Foretold. Still 2 in the tank, go down to 1 in the tank. Probably just Steam Vents tapped. Well, we see what we draw first. We crack the Islet. We draw Vengeance, which is perfect. That is what we wanted. Yeah, so then we have one last turn in the tank. So we have none in the tank. Oh, sorry, we did play that tapped. Then we pass to ourselves here, and then we do this. This is up and up. So we cast this for free off of As Foretold. Cast this for free off of As Foretold. That's 2. And then this resolves. We cast it from the graveyard using mana. So then that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the tank. So 5 extra turns in the tank. We play land. Dang, we have drawn a lot of lands, though. So that was 5, 4 in the tank. Now we go down to 3 in the tank. Preordained, thank God. So we preordain. We look at Lightning Bolt and Jace the Mind Sculptor. We draw Jace now. And put Lightning Bolt back on top. We play Jace for free. We brainstorm. We put back Gemstone Caverns and Temporal Trespass. 3 in the tank still. Play As Foretold. We still got Lightning Bolts. 2 in the tank. We cast Temporal Mastery as we draw it. So now we're back up to 3 in the tank. We probably just brainstorm with Jace again. Ah, there's a monkey. Alright. Put Gemstone back on top. We put Temporal Mastery back on top. Then we cast Ragavan. Then we can bolt anything that's in the way of Ragavan. At this point, like, our As Fortolds are so big that it almost doesn't matter to keep track of them anymore. You know, we drew the Temporal Mastery we stacked, and then we can also unsummon anything else in the way of Ragavan, and then we start killing them with, you know, extra turns in the tank, and then we can brainstorm every turn to always make sure we have another one in the tank. Ancestral draws us 3 more. Yeah, so we're good. We're good. All right, that one was a win. It was a relatively late win, but we got there. So Vengeance, Jace, Ancestral, and Ragavan. Probably worth it. Because, I mean, any hand with a Ragavan start is like a good hand. So you play Chivalry if you play Ragavan. Draw. So we play an island. Then we preordain? Actually, there's a world. I think we preordain first. I think it's worth the extra stuff. Okay, so we show these two. Meaning that Temporal Mastery is staying on top and I'm putting it on top. Meaning I'm drawing Ancestral Visions. Okay. Which means that yes, I'm playing an island and I'm suspending Ancestral. And then I attack, I can make a treasure. And I draw a Temporal Mastery. I have an extra turn now. Sorry, this is at 3. So I cast the extra turn spell. Play Teleria West tapped. Attack again. Additional treasure. Yeah. So then I untap. This now loses a counter. Ragavan's still here. God, I drew another Ancestral. Jesus. Okay, so Monkey. At this point, I probably would have started playing their spells, but in theory, I mean, Ragavan's probably not going to live that long. Although, granted, they haven't had a turn since he last lived, so he would still be here, theoretically. So I Attack, I get that, and I've got a bunch of mana. I can chase the Mind Sculptor. I remove this. Just put it in the graveyard. Then I'll Brainstorm. Putting back Ancestral Vision and a Steam Vents. Play the Scalding Tarn. Search for another Steam Vents. I'm going to play Untapped. Use that and the treasures. For As Foretold, cast Ancestral, draw. And then I pass, and they get another turn again. So this is their first one in a bit. They probably want to try and kill Jace and or Ragavan. I think it's probably fair to assume they can kill Ragavan by now. Killing Jace is probably also fair, for being honest. Because they probably have creatures of some kind. But now I go to my turn, I remove, I add. So I can kind of pop off here. So I'm one turn away from being able to Increasing Vengeance my extra turn spell, but I'm not sure I have time for that, and I'm going to be drawing extra cards anyway. So I think it's worth just doing it. So you just Time Warp. On the next turn, you draw 3 cards, which is Ragavan, Time Warp, and Living End. Off the Ancestral, but you're also going to Increasing Vengeance because of this. So you're actually going to draw 3 extra cards. Then you're going to draw for turn. So I've used As Foretold this turn now. That's pretty good. So I used As Foretold, so I can't actually Living End now. But that's okay, because I just drew another Time Warp. So I can play Fiery Islet, so I can actually Ragavan and Time Warp this turn. Right, yeah. So I lose 1 life for that, and then I untap to myself. This goes up to 3. I drew a Preordain. Can play the other Islet. Let me actually move the Increasing Vengeance to a different pile to make it easier. So then I would... Let's see. So I could Living End here to kill something if they had an answer for the Ragavan again. Otherwise, I can Cryptic, make room for Ragavan, attack, do stuff like that. I think that's probably what I would end up doing. So I would Cryptic, tap, draw. Drew an As Foretold. Sorry, so I Crypticed. I get a treasure. Then I would As Foretold off of As Foretold. I have 4 left over still. Preordain. Scrying these 2 here, so we're going to be drawing the Scalding Tarn and putting the Temporal Mastery back on top. And I think that's going to be it there. Yeah. No. Because Miracles don't care about timing restrictions. So on my opponent's turn, I crack an Islet, draw Temporal Mastery. When you draw it, if the first card... Yeah. So then I can do that, and then cast Temporal Mastery on their turn. So now I have 1 in the tank when it comes to my turn. Yeah. So then it's my go. Got one. I drew Talaria West. I still have 1 more in the tank. And I think it's worth Talaria Westing for view, what's it called? Ancestral Visions. Shuffle. Grab that, cast it off of my small As Foretold. Draw. I drew another Temporal Mastery? Dang, that's crazy. It wasn't my first one this turn, though. Okay. Ragavan. Treasure, their card. Oh, right. I have Increasing Vengeance in the graveyard as well. Interesting. So I play land. 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not a relatively magical number now. If I had a way to put Temporal Mastery back. Not just Preordain. Spelldancer's good here. Islet is not. I'll just do that and then we'll play it. Notably for free, why not? Yeah, I think this is one that's like totally fine to have quote-unquote won, because now I got my extra turn. Flash in, I can hard cast Steam Vents. Can cast Ancestral Visions with the baby one. Drew a Bolt and a Cryptic. I've got the extra turn thing, and then I just cast Ancestral, so this gets a counter. I attack, yeah. So I think this one's on lock. I think I can just say that I won this one. I think that's pretty clear. Because I don't think I could fizzle out from there. So this one is 2 completely dead cards and nothing until 4. That's a mulligan. This hand is fine. We put a Vengeance on the bottom. Because we've got Spelldancer, and we don't have anything to copy technically right now. So we would Steam Vents Ragavan. Untap. We would Ragavan. Make a treasure, play an island. And I think we Spelldancer and put Ancestral. I think that's worth it. Then we come to our next turn. Well, we drew the thing. So we take an extra turn. Remove a counter. Sometimes you get lucky. That's why Temporal Mastery is actually goated. Okay, so then we can attack for 4. Get another treasure. Pass to ourselves. Not too much really happening right now. Attack, we get another treasure. So we have Increasing Vengeance now. So we pass to the opponent, then we pass back. This is almost gone. We have the land now, so we can play land. And we can Time Warp. Yeah. So then we Time Warp, we have an extra turn in the tank. She gets another counter. Attack, get a token. Pass to ourselves. Get another land, thank goodness. Oh, actually, sorry. First we drew 3 cards, and then we draw for turn. So we did get a land. Yeah. So we did get a land. So now we can slam Jace, or we can take another turn. Oh, we definitely take another turn, because we attack. Oh, Ancestral counts, so we do that, and then we do her ability to remove the 2 counters. Still make the treasure. Then our next spell is doubled, which we Time Warp. Using a token. So we have 2 extra turns. Then we pass to ourselves. Drew another land, yippee. We cast Jace pre-main phase. Any particular reason? Yeah, just to get a counter on this and then brainstorm, I suppose. So we brainstorm, we put away Ragavan. And the Vengeance for now. We're going to redraw the Vengeance next turn. But for now we're going to attack. Get a treasure, spend the treasures on an As Foretold. And then now we're down. Okay, and then that's our only extra turn is this next one. So we pass to ourselves. Add a counter. So we drew our Increasing Vengeance, which we knew. Play Otawara. Well, don't play Otawara yet. First Brainstorm. Brainstorm with Jace. We put back Ragavan, and then Temporal. Then we play Reef. Oh. No, go away. Reset power toughness. So we attack with both. We remove... Oh, sorry, there was one more counter from the As Foretold, so we remove 2 counters. Our next thing is doubled. Our next thing happens to be... Oh, we also got a treasure. So our next thing happens to be Time Warp, which is doubled. Then we also Increasing Vengeance to get a third. So now we got 3 in the tank. Then we untap. We put a counter on As Foretold. We drew Temporal Mastery. But we have 3 turns in the tank. The better setup is to wait one more till we have one more land so that we can Increasing Vengeance from the graveyard with Mastery. So I don't think we actually pop it yet. So we're just vibing. We draw that. We're gonna Brainstorm. Gonna put back Ragavan and the Temporal Mastery because we're gonna do it next turn. Play Otawara. Attack. No, do not restart. Add treasure, and then I think we're in the. I think that we can't miss anymore. Right, because we go next turn. We drew Temporal. We cast it, and we flash back the Increasing Vengeance in our graveyard. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because that's 5 for the flashback on Vengeance, and then 2 for the Mastery. This is up a counter. She goes up 2. So we have 3 additional ones in the tank, on top of the 1 we still had, so now there's 4 in the tank. Play Scalding Tarn. Brainstorm. Actually, yeah, we Brainstorm first always. We get the Fiery is lit. Put the Ragavan back. No, actually, Scalding Tarn's better anyway. And then we put the island back. Then Scalding Tarn helps us get out of there. We'll shuffle. And we're good to go, yes. This is a 1 game. Okay. I mean, so far this feels like it's working fine. I mean, the Mercurial Spelldancer is not actually that bad. And then obviously it's corner case scenarios on when it comes down to like Mercurial Spelldancer copying Cryptic or Bolt or Preordain. Like those are somewhat subjective. But for now it seems like it's actually pretty good. I think this is a version I'd be happy with trying for a while. The Gaia's Whale so far does not feel like necessary. Feels just kind of like gravy, you know? Maybe put in another Snapcaster or something. Or actually, no, without the Gaia's Will, we can put Temporal Trespass back in. Temporal Trespass. So then now we're up to 9 extra turn spells. So we're gonna see one at some point. There's also an argument for an additional Cryptic or Jace. I actually kind of like that more. Wait. Because like an extra Cryptic command, for example. Add 1. So up to 3 Cryptics. Could also go up another Preordain. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think this is totally good. I think this is great. I think we like this. Gemstone Cavern's obviously great if you're on the draw. Because you get to just steal a turn, which is what this deck wants to do. So if I'm going first, this deck is very difficult to stop. And then sideboard, I don't even know what the modern sideboard is going to look like nowadays, but whatever. We'll put this guy. We'll move some of these guys over to the considering. I don't want to put together a sideboard when I don't know the meta. And the meta is currently very in flux with the banning of Fury and Beanstalk. Which, by the way, this deck probably would have been down for Beanstalk. Like, if Beanstalk didn't get banned, I think this deck switches to, like, a Renin 6, Like there's like a couple of like green cards, and like you might do that where you're like Ren and 6 Beanstalk. I think there's like a blue-green card that was I was looking at that was interesting enough to be willing to play. But I think as it stands, I think this is actually pretty great. There's an argument for an additional Talaria West, but having it be a tap land is like a real detriment. Like it actually matters. So I don't know, but at the same time, having extra copies of your only board wipe is not a bad thing. Having extra copies of draw 3, I think that's fine. I think it's fine, right? Because it's still only 3 tap lands in the whole deck. So like that's totally cool. That's cool. I think I like that. I think I like this list. I think for like a game 1 list, I don't think you can get much better than this, even with like the modern updates. Just because the way the deck functions is, again, it's all about abusing As Foretold and increasing Vengeance. That's like the 2 things the deck wants to do. And therefore, everything seems to be working fine. Also, hidden mode on increasing Vengeance. If your opponent uses a removal spell to kill your Ragavan or Mercurial Spelldancer, you can copy... Oh, no, sorry. This one is copy sorcery spell you can control. Sorry. So you can't copy their thing. I was about to say that's a fun hidden mode if that's how that works. But no, so I like this Taking Turns deck. Yeah, this is the update I think I would try out. And then, you can optimize more as you play. I had jump scare. Oh yeah, I forgot I turned, it automatically runs ads now. Forgot about that. Either way, alright, so that's going to be the Taking Turns. I think that's great. And then, like I said, go into the modern folder, please. Thank you. And then the remix, where it's like keeping things almost as pure as possible, is Snapcaster instead of Mercurial Spelldancer. Huh? How is this still... Oh, one of the Ragavans turned into a Lightning Bolt. Which I like, actually. And I think actually down a preordained... Because this is the old version. This is the one that's like basically the exact same, but with Ragavans. That's what this particular version is, and I think that this version's probably great. Yeah. So with this one, the only real difference is Snapcaster versus Mercurial Spellbinder, or whatever. Which is a real difference, I think. Yeah, and then this one, instead of the third Cryptic, you get an Exhaustion. That's fine, that's fine. Then I think it was just one of these for an additional Talaria West. I like that. So yeah, it literally is just Snapcaster versus Spelldancer. That is the only real difference going on. Okay. That's interesting. And then I kind of did this brewing a bit before the stream, which is the moving from Rakdos to Orzhov for Scam, or Evoke, whatever you want to call it. Biggest thing I was going to is I was like, well, the white cards don't really like the reanimation side of the Scam part. They care more about, like, ETBs, so it would be better to move over to the Ephemerate instead of Not Dead After All. So, like, instead of, like, 4 and 2, it would become 4 Ephemerates, 2 Not Dead After Alls. Which would also mean that you're running things like Tide Hollow instead of, like, Douthie Voidwalker, for example. Just because Not Dead After All combos with Douthie Voidwalker really well, but Ephemerate does not. Ephemerate doesn't do anything with Voidwalker. So this version is a bit more of Ephemerate friendly. Esper Sentinel's here because he kind of just replaced Ragavan, because the deck really needs a strong turn 1. And if your turn 1 is not Thoughtseize or Scam Grief, your turn 1 needs to be a strong turn 1, in which case it's either Fatal Push to stay alive, or kill their thing, or Esper Sentinel, which is going to draw you extra cards. Even if they remove it, you still get things. And then Esper Sentinel's still good to scam with Not Dead, because if they try to kill it, you probably draw a card, you scam it, so it comes back with 2. meaning they now are taxed even more if they want you to not draw cards. So it's like, it's good. I think Esper Sentinel's great. Elite Spellbinder, I was mostly just looking for like a 3-drop that can kind of replace Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. And most specifically, one that works with Ephemerate more so than Not Dead After All. And Spellbinder is great with Ephemerate because it's kind of like... Ephemerating a Spellbinder is kind of like ephemerating a Grief, for being honest. They don't like lose the card, but like their hand gets really small. There's a world where also you're running Wasteland Strangler to like put cards with Spellbinder away, put cards with Tide Hollow away. But the problem is that it's colorless, so it can't actually be exiled for Grief. It has a black pip, but it's not color identity. The card has Devoid. So that's one world. And then Reprieve is just a great card. Like, Remand is good. And then putting Remand in a deck that doesn't have blue is insane. Right? Like, Reprieve is amazing. Reprieve is so good. And then so that's all this is. This is effectively just, what if I took the exact same game plan that Scam is currently running, and I tried to adapt it into White? And that is literally just all this is. And this is probably totally playable. I like this. But personally, I think it's better for Rakdos to actually just drop Fury and just keep literally everything else. Because that's the biggest problem in moving into one of the other colors like Orzhov, is that there really isn't a replacement for Kroxa. There isn't a replacement for Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. There isn't a replacement for Ragavan. Right? You can replace Fury to a degree, but you cannot replace all 3 of these other cards in other colors. Or Blood Moon. Like, you can't replace Blood Moon in White. Oh, there's probably actually some enchantments that are close, but nothing as absolutely devastating as Blood Moon. And what do I mean by you can kind of replace Fury? Well, that's Blood Tithe Harvester. So he's pretty good with Scam as well, because he sacks himself so he can scam, where you you play him, you give something -2/-2, you scam him so he comes back, he makes another blood, and then you give something else -4/-4. So that kills both their, what's it named? Shardless Agent and a Rhino. And leaves you with a 4-power creature that can trade with their other... it doesn't leave you with a 4-power creature. But it leaves you with 2 blood tokens to help turn your dead cards into things that matter. Which is good and important. Notably, you can't do that in the same turn with Not Dead After All. You would have to use Undying Evil, which there is an argument for. Since Blood Tithe Harvester and Voidwalker both require the ability to tap, that could matter. But on the other hand, they don't have haste. So them coming back untapped is literally exclusively to block. And the only thing you'd want to do is trade them in for a Rhino, which is already going to happen when you untap with them. I don't know, it's a thing, because there's margins, because you can't Undying Evil something that has already undied, for example. So if I scam a Grief and my opponent tries to kill it, I can't Undying Evil my scammed Grief. But I can Not Dead After All my scammed Grief if Not Dead After All is my scam card. So it's like, they're not strictly better than each other, but I think that the Not Dead After All is better in most cases. So that's it, yeah. And then everything else is almost identical. I just added, so the 4 Furies came out in exchange for 3 Blood Tithe Harvester and an additional Kroxa. Then the 2 Undying Evil just became 2 more bolts. So we're now running the full set of Lightning Bolt, because also Lightning Bolt is now usable. Because the other elementals mostly have 3 toughness, which means that they die to Bolt. That was the biggest thing about Fury, is that Fury was a 4/4, which means that he'd lived through Bolt. So Bolt is now good again. So you can bolt, Ragavans, Bowmasters, Grief, Voidwalker, Harvester, Subtlety, Brazen Borrower. You can bolt everything now, as opposed to missing a couple things. Again, you can't bolt Kroxa, but that's whatever. Because I think that this is probably where Rakdos should go instead of the Orzhov, is to just stay Rakdos and just be like, I'm slightly worse, but hey, I'm still a good deck, so whatever. Again, because you can't, you didn't lose Ragavan, you didn't lose Fable, you didn't lose Bowmaster, You didn't lose Scamming Grief. Like, your deck still works very well. It just doesn't have Fury. So it's like, you're just not as insane as you were. You're still just good. But I am interested to see the Orzhov version, because I think there is merit to this, just in that, like, this has a bit more tempo-y swing. So I don't know. It's a tough call, but I think that there's actually merit to both, and it might just split into like Orzhov hard scam versus Rakdos mid-range. Because Rakdos was really the only color that did scam well and mid-range well, whereas Orzhov can do the scam well, and then if you went to Golgari, you could do the mid-range well. But I think that if you're doing the Golgari mid-range thing, you might as well just stay in red. You might as well just stay Rakdos and just go just mid-range, since we can do your scam. So that's how it is. I think that these two decks are probably going to coexist, if I'm being honest. Because without Rakdos Evoke sort of eating up that much of the pie, there's going to be room for multiple decks to sort of take its place. I think Rhinos is the best deck now. And then I think there's a good chance that Orzhov Evoke gets obliterated by Rhinos. Because Rhinos was always good against Scam. But it might actually lose. Well, not lose, but it's going to do... like, Rhinos just beats both of these decks. And then the Rakdos mid-range, because it's running more Kroxa now, if this is how it ends up being, but this is my thoughts. Because Kroxa was one of the best cards in the Rhino matchup, because he eats Rhinos, he makes a clock. Like, he's a big deal. He's a big deal. And then... yeah, and then obviously against Rhinos, your sideboard is very tailored to them specifically. So, like, that's totally fine. Whereas, yeah, so I think you're fine to just stay Rakdos mid-range, just add some... I'm trying out Blood Tithe Harvester. He might not be the right answer. Might be just something else. But I definitely think you're increasing up to at least 2 Kroxa now. And then you're probably running your full set of Lightning Bolts now. So it should be good, should be good. And then, yeah, Rhinos, they're not going to be changing very much. They're just removing their Furies and adding in, like, more Brazen Borrowers or Tidebinders. And that's going to be basically, you might be running Flames of Aenor main board now. Like, deck is almost untouched. Like, it used Fury as, like, well, it's the best card, I gotta use it. But, like, it didn't rely on Fury as its game plan the same way Scam did. It was just kind of nice to have, but you just add other removal spells instead. Again, Brazen Borrowers or Tidebinders, even Flames of Aenor. So, like, you're good to go. Which, notably, Tidebinder allows you to get multiple modes on Flames of Aenor. Lorien Revealed's still good, so... Rhino's probably best deck now. Especially because the best deck behind Rakdos Evoke was probably the like, Cascade Beanstalk or, like, Domain Control. Both which relied on Beanstalk a lot, so... The two decks above Rhinos kind of got taken down, so now I think it's just Rhinos. I think Rhinos is just the best. And that's where my new brew comes in. 2023 update. Because this deck actually kind of beats the shit out of Rhinos. Surprisingly. I did not expect it to. Granted, I don't know how the new build with, like, Ragavan and Mercurial Spelldancer, but I literally was trying, so I literally just proxied up and ported the 2018 version out, and it was beating Rhino a healthy percentage of the time. Granted, those were game ones, but, like, the Rhino sideboard is also not that skewed to beating a Taking Turns deck. Right? Because, like, let's just look at it, like, roughly. Like, Blood Moon does not affect the Taking Turns deck, because it is a red and blue deck. It runs Blood Moons in its sideboard. Endurance doesn't do anything. Flames of Aenor doesn't do anything. Force of Vigor does. That can kill my Asfertolds and stuff like that. Obsidian Charma. People were running this, I think, mostly for Tron. Subtlety is mildly effective. But, like, your sideboard doesn't really help you against me on my Taking Turns deck. Whereas my Taking Turns deck can have a wonderful sideboard I can have Blood Moons, which are like pretty okay against Rhino. They're not amazing, but they're pretty okay. I can run my own Rhinos in return. I could do all kinds I can run Bonfire of the Damned, which is great, because I can set that up and just start burning all your Rhinos to death. I can run Flusterstorm, start countering stuff, counter both your Cascade spell and the spell you cascaded into. Dress Downs are pretty okay. Not amazing against Rhino, though. Let's see, what else do we got in here? Flames of Anor. Confounding Riddle's not bad. Dismember. Out of Time is pretty okay. That's a card that might be run. The One Ring. I think this is mostly like engine pieces more so than side cards, but like this deck can run whatever the hell it wants for sideboard. I can run Chalices. I can run Engineered Explosives. I can run all kinds of things that just get the job done. You know, I can side in extra cryptic commands. I can side in all kinds of stuff. So it's like I can side in more copies of Living End because your deck does not put any creatures in the graveyard. So Living End is just a board wipe. It just kills all your tokens. So like I can just put extra copies of Living End in, so the instant I get an Ask for Told, I just have Living End every time. So it's like pretty good. So this Taking Turns deck kind of beats the shit out of Rhinos, I think. And then we got and I think that's mostly just going to be the meta's going to turn into Rhinos, Tron, and there might be a version of the Discover combo in Modern, I don't know. Like the Quintorius thing. It's probably just slower than Rhino, so not worth it. Oh, Living End is another one that's going to matter. Living End, Yawgmoth. The other versions, like again, the splitting from Rakdos Evoke into Rakdos Midrange and Orzhov Evoke, that's splitting the deck into two. So those are going to matter, probably. Assuming Orzhov Evoke is capable of, scamming good enough for it to matter. And then those are probably going to be the best decks. Death and Taxes is going to be playable again. I don't know if it probably won't be like good, but Death and Taxes is never like the best deck, but it's always like good enough to play. So and it's coming back thanks to Fury dying. I think Azorius Death and Taxes is probably the best version of that. I don't think there's anything else I really want to do specifically for today. So I suppose we might actually just end quick after a nice clean 2 hours. Not bad. First stream back in a while. I don't mind taking a little bit slow getting back into it. You know, it's gonna kill me because streaming's tiring, man. And if you're not used to it, you're gonna burn out. Because I also have to stand up while I do this, and it's been a bit since I've had to stand for long periods of time, and I was standing a good bit today. I got home, and then I was like, oh, I should, stand at my standing desk. But then I forgot I was also streaming later, so I was standing at my standing desk, and then I just, like, the whole time after I got home, all the way until I started streaming, then also streaming, so my feetsies hurt a little bit. So I'm actually going to dip here. I got done what I had to do. Got our Blue-Red Taking Turns, and now you can see it. Hey, woo. This is the first time I'm ever telling the world about this Blue-Red Taking Turns deck that I built. Like I said, I built it, was that 5 years ago now? And it's, so good. It is so secretly good. And then, I've never told anyone, other than my friend May. But now we're bringing it to the world because we're going to build it, we're going to test it, we're going to optimize it, and then we're going to probably try and take it to some Modern event. And then everyone's going to have to know. And we were the originator. To be fair, I was the originator back in 2018. And then she really helped me optimize a lot of it, because I was like, I had the idea. But then she helped me figure out how to, make it a little bit more competitive. The numbers of everything. Because like I said, there was, a bunch of, 3 ofs and 2 ofs. Because a lot of the initial build is, 4 of, whatever, and then, a couple of things. But going down to, 2 Cryptic, 2 Jace was enough. That was, I think, her idea. But either way, this deck is my brainchild. And I'm super happy that it looks like it's going to be really good in this next meta. So, excited to see how things go and take it there. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Good to be back. Good to see y'all. Make sure to have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. Should be streaming a lot more now that my internet is good enough to handle it, because boy, We've had no drops. Everything is full quality. Everything is so good. I'm so happy. Bye-bye. Oh, I don't have my outro screen. Dude, I'm so unprepared for everything. All right, bye-bye. I'm just going to stop it. All right, goodbye. All right, it's ending. Goodbye.